On a pale morning when even the air felt tired, Sabira swept the courtyard of her late father's home. Her stepmother's voice cut through the quiet like a blade. "Faster, girl. The guests will see the dust before they see the carpet." Sabira's hands trembled, but her lips moved softly. "Ya Allah, grant me sabr, for you see me even when the world turns away." That evening, a royal messenger arrived with a golden seal. A grand palace gathering was to be held. The prince would meet noble families from across the land. Ashes rose in thin spirals around her, like silent witnesses to her patience. Her clothes were simple, her spirit royal. Her stepsisters spun in joy, admiring their glittering gowns. Sabira said softly, "Perhaps what is not meant for me may still hold a lesson for me." Yet a small spark of curiosity glimmered in her eyes. What if she could just see the palace once? That night, as Sabira mended a torn sleeve near the fire, the door creaked open. An old maid, bent with age, her eyes kind yet weary, entered quietly. Sabira looked up, surprised. The maid handed her a modest, beautifully stitched dress, soft ivory cotton, with light golden embroidery at the sleeves. "Wear this tomorrow," she said, "not to impress, but to remind yourself, dignity comes from modesty." Then she quoted Sai Muslim hadith gently. "Modesty is a part of faith." The next day, the palace shone like a dream. Sabira stood near its gates, hesitant yet drawn by quiet wonder. She wore her veil, face partly covered, so her stepmother and stepsisters wouldn't recognize her. Her modest ivory dress flowed gracefully, her pastel scarf wrapped neatly, eyes lowered with awe. Inside, chandeliers glittered like captured stars. Guests laughed, music echoed softly through marble halls, melodies of joy filling the air. Sabira paused, her heart hesitated. A whisper of remembrance stirred within her, words of Hadith Sunan ibn Majah she had once heard from a wise teacher. Music grows hypocrisy in the heart just as water makes plants grow. She looked around at the glittering crowd, then lowered her gaze. Without hesitation, she turned away quietly and slipped toward the courtyard. But as she reached the steps, a voice called gently, "The prince." He had noticed her calm presence amid the noise, and in her rush, one of her sandals slipped from the stairs, left glinting under the moonlight. The prince stood at the top of the staircase, holding the fallen sandal. He had searched the crowd for charm, for beauty, for wit, but here, he had found tranquility. The prince had not asked for the one in jewels, but for the woman who turned away from the music when the world was watching itself. Every noble house was questioned, but none knew her name, until at last, they reached a small home on the edge of the market. The prince smiling in awe. "Last night I saw more honor in faith than I have ever seen in fortune." From that day, Sabira entered the palace not as a guest of luxury, but as a woman of faith and character, her crown unseen, yet eternal. Behind the curtain, Sabira's stepmother watched, her hands trembling. The arrogance that once ruled her heart now cracked. Under the weight of realization, she whispered through tears, "She was never the servant. We were to our pride." Sabira sat by the window of her new home. The Quran opened before her. She smiled softly and whispered, "Patience is not waiting for the storm to pass. It's praying in its rain." True royalty is not in beauty or status, but in those who stay steadfast when no one applauds, as Allah says in Qur'an. Indeed, Allah is with those who are patient. As dusk bowed to night, her prayer lingered in the wind. When all chase crowns of glitter, will you hold fast to the crown of patience?